This is us after show.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Essence House After Show. This week we're going to be talking about Chapter 3, The Healing Hands of Time. I'm your host, Jess, and tonight joining me is creators Eric Cockrell.
Hey.
Hey. And not Tim Edmond.
Woo!
Also known as Chuck Pino.
I'm not taking all the blame for this shit. Your name is.
I'll take 17% of the blame. Seems reasonable.
17, huh?
Of the blame.
17.
I'll take 84% of the love.
Aw.
Yeah.
See? Chuck's
Feels fair,
man.
Yeah.
See?
You just can't.
83?
So I guess we don't have to say there's spoilers, because if you're watching this at this point, you should
Yeah,
know.
that's only available to patrons. So if you're watching it right now, it's kind of on you to have watched the third episode, which was also, as of this recording, only available to patrons.
Let's talk a little bit about episode 3, or chapter 3. In this episode, Tristan kind of shows Tim what's going on.
Yeah, they have some good talks in this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I felt like this one was probably one of the more emotional. Like, this is where we really got to kind of see the two of them together, and it was a little more on, I mean, obviously there's still some issues back and forth and whatnot, but it was a lot more, a lot calmer. The first one, it was just like, episode 2, it was just about, show me what's going on, what the hell is in the shed. But this one was a little more like, I feel like at the end of it now, they both have no clue what's going on. Like, now they're equally in the dark.
the first couple episodes, it was very like adversarial. Like, is that the word I'm looking for? Like they were kind of, there was like some weirdness between the two, and so they're finally like you said, like chill and just talking about what's going on. And I think, yeah, Tristan has like an idea of what's up with Essence House, but he doesn't have the full picture. And he pretty much catches Tim up on everything he knows. So the playing field's pretty even there.
We also got our first scenes without Tim, where we got a scene with Rick and a scene with Tristan. So even that part of the narrative is starting to build, where it's like, it's not just all about Tim now.
Yep. And that does definitely continue, which is cool. Like, there's some next week's episode has some I'm not gonna say anything. I see Jess thinks I'm gonna say something, but I'm not gonna say anything.
Like, yeah.
I'm just gonna trail off my words, and next week's episode has some ...
At least we're going to get into some stuff this week. Maybe we can talk about a little bit of stuff.
I think we should talk about some stuff.
Maybe get some questions answered.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
I think that there's a bombshell this week, like in terms of like the overall picture and powers of Essence House. Right? Is this the right episode?
Right. With Grandpa Roland. That's the bombshell that I was thinking.
Yeah, there's that bombshell.
I was waiting to watch. This was great because I was like, Eric's like searching. He's like, shit.
Hey, you guys talk amongst yourself. I'm gonna listen to the episode real quick.
I'm just gonna mute his microphone and just pop in.
Was this the one where Tim's sister died, or is that the next episode?
Horrible. That would be horrible. She just had a baby.
Right? That's why I was going in my head. I'm like, which person can I kill off and no one will believe it?
Yeah. How did Essence House gets dark?
Essence House kind of started dark, though.
So basically, we know about the plane crash, and we know that Tim and Tristan are trying to go back in time using the powers of the Essence House to the year of the plane crash. Now, I guess it kind of makes you wonder, has Tristan has traveled back before? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Well,
they that's been mentioned. Him and Tim traveling with their grandfather.
Okay, when they were children, right?
Yeah,
but if you watch the episode, listen to the episode, you can tell that he hasn't necessarily had to do it himself, because he has to go to the record store and he's trying to find all these things like, what can I do to remind me of that year? And so, and of course, we have all those great throwback 1995 Easter eggs going on.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he obviously kind of understands to a certain point, but it also looks like he doesn't fully know. Like, he really kind of went all out. That's all in there, right?
Yes. That was the second half of the episode.
Yeah.
So they're going back in time to where the plane crash occurred. Are they trying to affect time? And if they affect time, like, does it affect the timeline? Can they change the past and make the future different, or does it create another timeline? Or are they just going back as?
That's the age-old paradox, time travel stories, I guess. Yeah, we can't really disclose anything specific about that, I guess, right now. But that is always one
That's
of the.
really up to you. Do you think? I mean, that's kind of moving forward. Do you think that that's possible? And if they do, how will that affect things?
We have some great questions I wanted to get to from not viewers, from listeners. We have a great question from Wendy tonight. So this is when they've already passed through the Essence House, and Wendy says Tim is in a daze as he stares at his phone, and he's seeing a vision of the past parties thrown at the house. It seems to be a similar effect on the women in the debutante shop in the first episode. But there was a message on her phone. Was it someone communicating with her from the past, or was it an alternate timeline? Was someone, maybe his grandfather, doing the same with Tim?
I love that you guys are asking those questions, because now you get it, and that's not meaning that I'm saying yes or no or anything. It just means that now you get that any of this stuff could have happened at any time, and now that's going to have to slowly happen. And
yeah, I think that's one thing about this so far. Doing this after show thing has been cool, because any of the questions and points that have come up are like things that we intentionally like planted. Like, it was just cool, like quick affirmation that we were doing that part well, I think.
No, I would agree, Eric and Chuck. If people are asking the questions, that means you're hitting the right parts of the story and you're getting us to think. Because the Essence House is such a mystery. Let's move on to the next question here. Tristan mentions that Rick told their grandfather, who shouldn't have even been there, that nobody brought him back because he was a coward. So the ability. I'm sorry?
That was super mean.
that was, yeah.
Yeah, so the ability to bring people back from the dead, or at least within the Edmonds family, has been around for some time. Question mark? I I didn't raise it at the end. Sometimes I made it as a statement, but that was the question. Yes.
I mean, is it possible?
It's plausible.
Second part of the question: are they a family of witches?
What is a witch, really?
What'd you say?
What is a witch, really?
A magic user?
Well, so I would say so far there's been no evidence to say which.
Okay.
There's certainly evidence towards some sort of magic or something like that, but specifically which, nothing like that yet.
Wizards?
As far as the time frame goes, I think in episode 2 we mentioned something happened 100 years ago, and so like there's a good range there. So it depends on what you think is a long time, but.
So okay, so how far back did you guys go? Like, are they maybe from a bloodline of magical Europeans or something that came to America and built the Essence House from their magical European wood?
Wow. Magical European wood.
From some forest in Europe, maybe Germany, where there's a magic forest. I don't know.
They have
magical European wood was actually going to be my porn name, believe it or not. No. We've gone back.
Okay.
And I mean, at least obviously the 100 years that we've been able to specify that. But you have to go even further than that because you have to understand the origins of that kind of stuff. So we've gone way far back, and that's about as far as I can go with that.
Yeah.
Are they pilgrims? Are they pilgrims?
Are pilgrims magical?
I don't know.
Are pilgrims magical? We're pilgrims like Puritans, like the exact opposite of magical. We're like anti-magical.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so here's another one. It says, it didn't hit me the first time I listened, but now I'm wondering how somebody would feel to find out that the grandfather they grew up with, knowing he was a ghost.
That'd be really conflicting, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think that's a bit of there is a bit of like mind fuckery like in this whole story. I think next episode we get into a little bit more of that too, but
yeah.
I think there's definitely some weirdness, like I think it causes a lot of confusion, particularly like in the first episode with Tim and the discussion he had with Barnabas.
I was gonna say on the page here we had a comment from Kieran that says, Barnabas was right.
Barnabas was right.
Yeah.
I thought Barnabas might have been a nut and just been yelling at Tim, but now we know Barnabas was right.
Yeah, which then goes on to say like what does he know? What is up with him? Who is he? Like yeah. And that's the fun thing is that once you guys get an answer, then it brings out another 1,000 questions.
Like how the heck did he know?
Yeah, like I'd like to get in more a little bit, find out a little bit about what Barnabas knows for sure.
Well, and I mean it's something. It's a really cool thought because then like how would you feel if you found out that the family that you connected with when you were young,
or ghosts,
they weren't really alive? Does that make your memories any more or less real? You know, what does that do exactly?
I mean, before Tristan relates that story to Tim has fond memories going back of going on trips with his grandfather, and he at the very beginning of this episode he talks about all the holiday parties where his grandfather would do his speech and get a little tipsy and pass out in the office. Like, those are very like real moments that he had. And it turns out that at that point, his grandfather wasn't even alive. So
nuts. But is he a ghost, or is he like the person they're seeing existing? They're still alive, or are they still alive in a different timeline? Or are they going back in time?
I think that's the sort of thing we'll be visiting, but I don't think that there's much we can say about that, right?
Well, and I mean, but Roland does kind of answer that in that, because even when Tristan's talking to him, Roland says, I'm here, but I'm not, and so, basically saying, I'm dead for you, but I'm not dead for me.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is kind of answered, but even still, what does that mean? And
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that we will get further into, but not tonight.
Hey, last week, or 2 weeks ago, you would have begged for this information. Actually, I think you did.
We can finally get a little bit of it.
No, I'm happy because we are getting answers today. We actually are, and so it's working. It's working. So the next question we have says, while on the plane, Rick says they're going to screw it up for all of us. Screw up what? What is Rick planning to do with the magic of Essence House? And who is us?
Yep.
Yeah, I think Rick is really one that we can't really talk too much about yet.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Huh, all right.
Yeah. But obviously his ties to it are huge, and he obviously seems to know more than everybody else, which kind of creates this sort of tier effect where you had Tim on the very bottom, had no idea. Then Tristan, who had some information, but still not enough to really be as helpful as they want. And then Rick, who appears to know exactly what's going on, though even that we're not 100% certain of. So,
I mean, we do know that Rick was trying to keep Tristan away from the house, and that he had a conversation with Tristan at some point, because there's a reference to that. And yeah, we know that Tim was expected to keep Tristan away.
Yes.
But at the end of this episode, he pretty much just dismisses altogether.
Yeah.
It's true, right?
Because they had
and I like that moment.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, he has to make a choice. He has to choose between Uncle Rick and the new job or Tristan. And he chose Tristan, which kind of shows where his loyalties really lie. Because if you really look at the episode, and even I'm kind of, sort of catching on with that, he doesn't make the choice out of, wanting to see the past or wanting to help or any of that kind of stuff. He really does it to make sure that Tristan doesn't die alone.
Doesn't at that point. And
so,
I think too that he was acting on his uncle's orders earlier and stuff, but now he's got a lot of new information and probably a lot of curiosity. Obviously, a lot of curiosity to go along with that. So
he's still a lot less curious than Tristan, which is kind of funny because Tristan had all this information and Tim's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. He was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
This is heavy.
So up to the end of episode 3, we're led to believe that if Tristan's plan worked, they would find themselves in the Essence House in the past. But they end up somewhere else. Yeah. I know you can't tell us.
I think, and that was a surprise to Tristan. Which maybe you don't find that till the next episode, but whatever. I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, clearly Tristan is expecting to show up at Essence House, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah. And you Patreon users, you'll know in a week. So I wouldn't worry too much. At least you're not those the freebies. They have to wait another 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Shit.
For episode 4. It's funny, actually. My cousin messaged me the other day, and he said, "What happened? Where's episode 3? You said it was up." And I was like, "No, it's up on the Patreon." He's like, "Oh, so how long do I have to wait?" I was like, "Another 2 weeks." Ah, fine. So supposedly he's addicted, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, fork over $2.
$2.
You know, right? Tell him that too.
It's $2. $2.
Some people's children.
So this question has come up a couple times or something, or a similar vein, bringing up the birthday thing. We have a question from Travis Gibb that says, with there being so many generations of people in the family being born on the same day, is it possible that they're all the same person at different points in their life?
That's heady.
Like,
I mean, with Tristan and Tim, that's difficult because they actually like literally shared a childhood, and now they're adults sharing adulthood. So,
plus, there's also like female family members and such, also.
Yeah.
That share the birthday. I don't know if it's directly referenced that, but well, actually, Tim's niece is born in the second episode.
Yep.
On that birthday.
Travis Gibb gave us that last question. I did want to give him a shout out. He's a good buddy of ours. He's also a fellow comic creator, and he has an amazing book, Broke Down and Four Dead Bodies. I love the series. Issue 3 is on Kickstarter right now, so I wanted to give him a shout out and some love. If you've got the chance, go check out Kickstarter. Find Broke Down. It's honestly, Wendy and I, we own the first 2 issues. We've already jumped on the Kickstarter for the 3rd issue, and I have he and I talk a lot about this series, and it's really good. So I think if you love Quentin Tarantino style crime dramas, this is it right here.
How much time is left on that one?
17 days.
Okay. When we post the video, we can toss the link in the comments on it too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
When Tristan and Tim go back in time, they pick up a record and they play it, and it brings them back. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose the song you chose?
So when I was looking for a record, I pulled up just a list of records that came out at that time, and at first I had picked a Ramones album, but it actually turned out that one came out the year after.
Oh.
And the Ramones choice was, I mean, for one, like I've always rooted in like punk rock music myself, so I lean that way. But also just I see that smirk, Chuck.
Dude, Ramones is just one of those bands. Even if you're not a punk fan,
Yeah,
you end up having you like them, and it's the same with Willie. You know, even if you're not a country fan, you love Willie Nelson, or at least enjoy what he's doing. So the smirk is just because like Ramones is just one of those bands. They even despite being punk, they go across every genre.
and they're very New York too.
Yeah,
I think that that kind of drew me to them. Like I think it's like awesome touch in like the Spider-Man movie from a couple years ago. Like using the Ramones on the soundtrack there was amazing. Like it just felt very, appropriate. But yeah, so that album didn't work out because of timing. But this album, the Healing Hands of Time being the name, and this episode kind of bringing in officially like some sort of time travel element. It just it felt appropriate. And who knew that our voiceover guy could sing?
So was that a total shock? Did you guys ask him to, or what happened there?
I had no idea if he was gonna read it or sing it or whatever. And then I got it back, and as soon as I heard that part, I recorded it on my phone and I sent it to Chuck, and I was like, "Chuck, you got to check this out.
You gotta hear this, man."
It blew me away. I was just like, wait, what? I honestly, because when you read it, it reads like a poem. So I thought he was just gonna read it like a poem. But dude, he went in like full on and did it. I was like, oh crap. Do we tip this guy? Like, geez.
Right?
That was really good.
But yeah, the like also this episode and then the next one even more so, like he brings it. Like the emotion is a little stronger. The characters, like you could tell he's getting into it. I mean, he dropped us a note actually saying how much he's really enjoying this project, which is really awesome because he's doing an awesome job on it. And I love this project, so it's cool to have a buy-in from like the whole team like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like been like he's like to our audience, he's like the forefront of the project almost. Like he's what you hear.
Yes.
But, like, on the other end, like he's kind of like the invisible partner. So it's kind of a weird dynamic, but yeah, he's really bringing it, and that was a cool treat that he sang, and he sings well.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because it reminds me a lot of like when Eric and I work with artists on our comics. They're usually freelancers, so you're just paying a dude to do a job. They're going to draw your book, and they want it to look good because they want to look good. When someone looks at those pencils, they want people to go, "Oh man, even if the writing sucks, this guy's pencils can save the day." But it's like one of those guys becoming a fan and saying, "I love drawing your stuff," and so it's just huge that he would be so excited about it because he's just a freelancer. Like we're not paying him to like it. He doesn't have to like it.
Yeah.
He literally just has to do the voices, make it sound enjoyable, and then move on to his next job. So the fact that he would go all the way out, sing, and really find those voices and everything, it's huge.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. No, I think he's getting into the story too.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it seems like he said he's really digging the story, and he likes working on the project a lot. So that was cool to hear.
I think it's a fun, unique project for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like he's a voiceover guy who does a lot of books and stuff. Like I know I said on the first episode that it was like 1,000. It's like he's done like 50 on Audible, which is a good number.
Wow.
1,000 was a ridiculous number. I think he references that he's had like 1,000 reads or something, and I mixed that up. But yeah, he's a regular on Audible. So, I mean, we looked like we didn't just go and look for, me or Chuck could have easily just read this project, though we wanted to do it right. He was professional. He sounded great, and I couldn't be happier to have him on board.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's become, before he was just kind of sort of the silent partner, but not silent at all. But no, he was the other guy, and now he really does feel like a part of the team because he's bringing it, man.
Yeah, and I think
his name's Matt, right?
Mike Goodrick. Yeah, I think next week in episode 4, like I think he like really kills it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it. No, he's doing a great job, and because like he's really just bringing these people, breathing life into them.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't know, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, so I mean, I know that it's common, like they might have like, a few dozen characters in a book, and they have to like make them all different sounding, but like, yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's definitely a talent.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just some chump reading a book.
No, I love it. It's just it's better than audiobook too, because there's like there's sound effects cut in, and it really brings the story to life. And I think when just the moment where Mike sings, it just makes it kind of like you get so sucked into the story, and then it's over.
Yeah. So when I got to that part, because I put together all the sound effects, I didn't want to put like any music with it, because obviously we don't have the money to get the legal rights to that song, and so like any other music at that point would be off. Like, you couldn't just put some generic tune back there. So I went with like a record player, like scratches, like, so it sounds like there's a record spinning, and then he sings over it. And then I think my favorite thing that I've gotten to do audio wise so far was at the very end of that episode. So it's got the record scratches going on, and then it kind of, as they're being, transported away, there's like I don't know, I think there's like 6 different sounds in there that kind of make that final noise, but it's a couple different kinds of winds, and I basically wanted the sound of anxiety. So I've got like the heartbeat going on, like you got like some crazy winds, a bit of like a howl, and like it just kind of like, this thing is happening, and it's kind of meaty, and I was really excited when I got that sound together. Like, that was another one that I sent to Chuck right away. Like,
yeah, no, you killed that, man. I love that, and I was lucky enough to be able to watch Jess and Wendy listen to that episode, and it was great because I know Wendy and we tend to watch things the same way, and it's, if you're of a certain age, whenever you were watching TV, you knew that at the 22-minute mark, like, that episode is almost done.
yeah.
And so I could see her looking at the time, and she's like, no. And then she hears that sound. She's just like, you're not going to tell us. And it was great. Like, I could read it on her face. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not going to find out today. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you, honestly, that sound just kills it. It does the anxiety. There's also a mysteriousness to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that I got that vibe the most, is it just, there was this essence to it. That's all I can say.
I really wanted it to be like a sound that can be recognizable in the future, like as only that, like.
Yes.
So, I mean, because obviously this is going to be a sound that we're going to use, like, in different places. The next episode 4, actually begins with that sound, because it's all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's almost like, I mean, this is another time travel thing, but I don't know if you guys watch Doctor Who. I'm super casual on that, like, but like when you hear the TARDIS.
Yes.
Yeah, like, that's the TARDIS noise, like, so I guess it's kind of like that. It needed to have a signature sound to this event going on.
It's funny because I kind of had the same reaction, like that reaction that you had, where you were like, I need to give everybody these feelings and all that. I felt like I had to do the same thing when I was putting together all the different items that Tristan has to grab in order to feel like he's going. He grabbed a jacket, he grabbed a shirt, like he got all this stuff. And all originally we had was that he had to have that one Willie Nelson album, and I was like, man, I really want him to just go nuts and grab a bunch of stuff.
Well,
and so I had
the Rangers were the Stanley Cup winners, like that year, like, so you get the jacket, like.
I was so excited by that. I even
falls into place.
Well, and if you look, they had the light blue emblem for only a very short period of time, and it was during that period of time. And so I had such a fun time doing that research and trying to get like dead on into there as much as I could. And it's funny how the Willie Nelson fit in there, the Rangers fit in there, like just all that kind of stuff just worked out somehow.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the hypercolor? What triggered that for you?
Dude, like, I mean, we're all of a certain age. Wasn't hypercolor like the coolest thing? I mean, honestly, I don't understand why we don't have hypercolor shirts now. Like,
It's true.
it was awesome, and obviously it only lasted for so long, but we should have perfected that by now.
That technology should have been perfected by now.
It should be perfect. You should be able to have a hypercolor shirt that works all the time perfectly. It doesn't, go bad or you watch it wrong and it's screwed or whatever. Like, no, man, I remember I had one real hypercolor shirt and I loved that thing.
It was basically like a mood ring in shirt form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you grabbed it and you held onto it, the heat from your body would change the color. And so if you really like held on hard, the harder you held, the more bright that new color would show up. So if you went running or whatever, you'd see where you sweat, which I don't understand why we were so happy with that, but
maybe that's why hypercolor died.
Yeah.
probably.
People are like,
It was
yeah,
also really gross.
But yeah, to me, it just hypercolor. I mean, I went back there because that reminded me of my youth. Like for me, hypercolor was just one of those cool things. It was just so 90s kitsch,
Yeah, it's like the excessiveness of the 90s. Like,
I mean, he just as easily could have had like a plaid jacket or something, and
right.
I could have gone full Nirvana, but that was almost too easy.
When we were young and we were watching Back to the Future, it didn't make sense because they were going back to the 50s, right? But now they're going back to the 90s and it makes sense.
For us, yeah.
For us.
So Back to the Future was what, like 83,
85?
Something like that. Mid to early 80s.
And he went back to 65 or 55. Had to be 55.
1955, yeah, right? Come on.
Went back 30 years. So this is 25 years. So it's roughly like as old as that felt when we were kids that he went back that far. Like we set our characters, like at the end of the episode, they're heading back nearly that far.
Isn't that nuts?
And it was the 90s. That blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, and we did make a remark to that where I think it was Tim who said that the house now reminded him more like a DeLorean than a house.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, it's fun, and it's fun because now we're actually kind of open, and we're seeing that this is kind of like there's sci-fi elements to the story for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been really. Sometimes it's been kind of fun to dance around, but we've been doing a dance trying to, because like it definitely we've been using the word sci-fi, but we haven't really been able to show it too much yet. So
yeah.
So what can you tell us about next week's episode?
Not a damn thing.
Ooh.
Dang it.
I think we could can't we give them some kind of teaser?
I think for sure they're going to 1994. 5?
4. I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm just like.
Well, and actually, that's the question. 1994, 1995. Where do they end up?
Did you choose 1994/1995 for a significant reason, or other than it was around 25 years back?
It was just the right time for our story.
Yeah. Yeah. It really did. There was also like as we dug into things that happened around that time period and all that. It just really worked out well. Like the more stuff we went into, it felt like that piece just kind of popped into place.
Yeah. And I think we've had a lot of that, like in our writing.
Yep.
That happens a lot for me when I'm writing stuff, though. Like things just kind of work out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's like it's just meant to be. But that time works great for us. Plus, I'm a 90s guy, and like the mid 90s is my shit. So, so it's basically it's Tim and Tristan in the mid 90s, trying to go back and stop a plane crash.
Yeah. So really, what does that mean? Like that's what you guys have to be thinking. What can time be changed? What are they even changing? All that stuff.
Is it like the butterfly effect? If they kill a butterfly accidentally when they go back, it's going to change everything, and it's raining toasters all of a sudden.
I guess there'll be a couple episodes before you find that out.
Essence House, it rains toasters.
Yeah, the toaster.
Great, she gave it away. It's all just a prequel for like Cloverfield or something. That's how the monster's created.
Oh, shit.
They went back in time, and now you've got Cloverfield.
So if you could go back to 1994 and like experience something, I guess some sort of pop culture-y thing, what would it be?
I would have, I think, like, around that time, I was really big, like, Green Day fan. Also Offspring. Like, they used to be on the radio, they're on the radio all the time, but they're also, like, on MTV every morning. I'd put on the videos while I was eating my cereal. And I would have made a better effort to go see one of those bands, probably particularly Green Day, like, in their prime. There's actually a reference in episode 4. There's a reference of something that they would have done, like had they had the information that they had now. That was a lot of fun to write in there.
I would have done. I just said it. Woodstock 94.
Yeah.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Well, because I mean, that's Woodstock 94 was huge. Metallica was there. Primus was there. That was the first. I mean, that's when Green Day really hit it.
Mm.
Like that's when they really came out. I remember actually, I was at Christian camp that whole summer. I actually worked at a Christian camp that summer, and I went from, and we didn't have access to radio or anything, so I went from Nirvana's the biggest thing in the world and all this kind of stuff, and I get back and everyone's talking Green Day, and I'm like, who the hell is this Green Day? Like, what's up? And so in Canada, we didn't have MTV. We had Much Music. And so they would have the videos from Woodstock playing, like, all day long. And so I got to watch that, and that was just amazing. Watching, like, Billy Joe hurling mud back at the crowd and everything. Like, that was just, dude, that would be killer.
I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this past summer. They had a Woodstock exhibit because it was, 50 years or whatever. And it was weird because when you first get into it, the first thing on display was Billy Joe Armstrong's muddy shoes.
Really?
It was like, this was the 50 years of Woodstock exhibit, and it kicked off with that. Like, it was really weird.
It's not anything a little more, I guess, but it's so old now. Too. Like, this is history.
And had that on there too, but yeah, it was weird that was it. But
right, like, shouldn't you have had like Jimi Hendrix's burning guitar or something? Like,
right?
There was a lot of that stuff too, like towards the front. But the very first case had Billy Joe Armstrong's shoes. It was really bizarre. It was kind of that was in a preview area to the whole thing, but
maybe get people to come in. They're like, check out these shoes.
It's funny because I've never been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm lucky. I've never been to Cleveland. Screw you, Cleveland. And,
God,
I
sorry.
don't have anything
You
against them.
just killed all your Cleveland fans.
Both of them. And
He's crying now. Like that guy, he's crying.
We have 7 pages.
that guy already has his tear. His tear is already tattooed on his face, so he doesn't have to worry about it. No, but a buddy of mine went there in the early 2000s, I think like 2006 or something. And he said he went there and the first thing he saw was Britney Spears.
Oh.
Like this big display of Britney Spears. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, how is that? First off, she couldn't have been inducted by that point. Still hasn't been. But why was she the first thing that you were seeing? Why is she in there? Like, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is weird.
Probably not like that. Not like the first thing I saw when I walked in was the CBGB awning. That was cool.
See, that's badass.
And then when you got up to it, like it was Woodstock, and then it fed into like the blues artists, and how that, and it kind of told the story of that turning into rock and roll. With like then it went to Elvis and the Beatles and all that. And then when I was there, there was also the special exhibit of the Vans Warped Tour, and that was really
cool
because this was the last year of Vans Warped Tour, and it was cool seeing like some of the stuff from the last several years because you always saw that on TV or a couple. Like I went to a couple of them, and so that was a cool exhibit. But yeah, I thought it was really cool and had a lot of very pertinent like actual rock stuff. So it's improved at least since then.
What about you, Jess? If you went back to that time period, what would you want to be a part of?
Shoot, I don't know. I might have to use Google because.
I know what Jess would do.
What now?
Jess would go online and find when there was some sort of big alien sighting. And she would go there and she would be ready to sit and document it.
Alien sighting or UFO sightings 1994.
See? She's already on it. Hey, Jess, time travel isn't real.
There were a lot of great movies in 1994, though. Like, how long do I get to go back for?
Longer than just watching a movie. You know, you could rent it now, right?
But no, I want to go to a 1994 movie theater, like experience a 1994 movie.
You mean before they had the great cushy chairs?
Yeah. You want to go to a shitty theater to watch a movie?
It's like you just watch it at home, guys. Yes, all these films are available on the internet or streaming service.
In 1994, if you wanted to see a movie on opening night or see it before your friends, you had to go to the theater at fucking midnight.
Yeah, right?
Now you can go on Thursday at 7 p.m.
I know, right? I know. I remember going and waiting, sitting in line, waiting for the midnight show.
I feel like you're one of those ones you'd go back in time and you'd be like, I'm going to watch The Heathers.
The Heathers. I would probably
go back in time to take advantage of the gas prices or some bullshit.
Oh gosh, gas prices. I was gonna say I'd probably because I think I remember sneaking in. Because it was rated R. I snuck in to watch Pulp Fiction, and I kept going to the movie theater and kept sneaking back in to watch it because I was like, this filmmaking is interesting,
I remember the first time I watched The Crow.
Ooh, The Crow is also in 1994 movies.
It was messed up because I ended up having a party at my house. My mom rented the movie for us to watch and a couple others. I had a bunch of friends over, and it was the day before Halloween. And the movie takes place on the day before Halloween, and we had no idea. And that just screwed our brains because we were like, we were in Canada. We didn't even know there was a Devil's Night. We were like, wait, you can be a piece of shit a day earlier? Really? We had no idea. So
thank you so much for watching the Essence House After Show. Check out the next episode on Patreon next week?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. And if you don't have it, then you wouldn't be able to see this video, so it doesn't matter.
And I will tell you the name of the episode is Into the Essence.
Ooh,
Ooh, juicy.
I like it.
That's a really good teaser.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Peace, love, and podcasts.
Podcast. Ooh.